Well, actually, there's a. Are you going to tell us?
Yeah. Okay.
He's got it.
So the simple way of looking at system selection criteria are these 4 items. The first one is trying to understand building operation. I'll give you an example. If your school district decides to use the gymnasium in your project 24/7, I mean during all the weekends in a year, then you do need to control that separately than the rest of your building. So in that case, will a central plant, will hooking up the conditioning for the gymnasium to a central plant make sense or not?
Might not.
Might not, because just to keep just the gymnasium running, I may have to turn my chillers on during the weekends.
The rest of the school doesn't need it.
Doesn't need it. So there are so many items that could be based on, so many ways to look at this design based on just operation. So it is important to understand which portions of your building needs different operation than the normal operations. And this gets more complicated when you have a convention center or a hotel, because those different spaces have different operation times. So it is very, very important to first ask this question. Good, everyone? Okay.
That helps you zone it appropriately.
Right, and then the next one is zoning. In addition to operation, another issue with zoning is, or another item with zoning is, say for instance, if your client wants, say if you're doing an open office building, and if your client wants to have the user's individual comfort, thermal comfort, not lighting, thermal comfort, then every little block in the open office floor plan should be able to control the thermal temperature inside the space. But typically we won't design that. All we would have would be just one thermostat for the entire section on one side. So if that's the reason, then the zoning, so asking that question will change how we zone the buildings. The more number of zones we have, more systems, that changes the type of system. So it's an important question to ask, how do you want the space to be used? Do you want to give more control, or do you want one central control? Okay? And then decentralized or centralized. This is a maintenance question.
It is a big maintenance.
How is the owner's maintenance people, I mean, how are they more comfortable? Will they be comfortable with this decentralized, picking at 50 heat pump units?
Usually that takes a lower tech person to maintain those types of things.
Correct. Right. And this needs skill.
That takes a higher skill level guy to take care of your chiller or your boiler plant system.
So, and I think we do this more often.
But even if you have a centralized system, you still have decentralized equipment that they have to go maintain.
That's the hybrid, right?
Yes, that's the hybrid version. And we get into those also.
We get into all the time with the prisons.
Right. So it's an important question to ask right in the beginning. Which way do we want to pursue? So that changes your system selection a lot.
Like I said, it gets into the air side and the water side.
Right. The last one is very interesting to me. Uniformity versus diversity. So the question here is, do you ask your client, do you want the same temperature for thermal comfort all across the building campus? Or can you allow certain parts of the building to have a higher thermal comfort?
Do you stretch that comfort zone in certain zones?
So that's the difference. Uniformity, diversity. If the client says, no, I want 75 degrees uniform throughout my facility, that changes your design selection or system selection. On the other hand, if it says, yes, I'm okay to have some diversity, my circulation spaces could have different temperature control, or my gyms could have different temperature control. So then by having that range of temperature, thermal comfort different, that allows for more mechanical systems as options to evaluate. So it is important to ask this question. Good? And I think that's it. I'm not going any more deep into this. That's where we have Dave.
You know where all this is leading to is we're going to have to come to a sort of a consensus in terms of how we approach clients, because if we simply ask them, they're going to give us the same old shtick. You know, it'll be the same line.
Your client.
Right. We're going to have to really find some way of educating and insisting is an extreme word, but there's got to be a line that if we're going to buy into 2030 and take it seriously, we're going to have to not only educate the client, but we simply can't just ask them what they prefer, because they're going to refer to the past 20 years.
Exactly.
That's their baseline.
Yep.
From my recent experience, I've clients that we're working with and dealing with are actually asking us and pushing us to save them energy dollars. I mean, the cost of energy is being a burden on the school districts now, not the SFP stuff. So we are actually being challenged to go through this with them.
Well, that's good.
And to start stretching them.
Correct.
So I think it's coming just because of the demand of energy costs.
So hopefully at week 8, we'll have a summary of all these different questions. That's what the whole design criteria exercise is. So using those questions, and first, in order to help understand our clients, we need to know how to answer these questions and
there's probably ways we could phrase them to get them to be part of the team decision process.
Exactly.
Which is what it needs to be.